Divine ones, ever walked into a room and felt something was off, but couldn't explain it? Why does your energy feel drained around certain people even when no words are spoken? Why does solitude feel like home? Let me tell you a true story. There was a woman named Naomi, raised in a busy city, always surrounded by people, family, friends, and co-workers. Noise, movement, and conversation were constant. But deep inside, she always felt different. She loved people, but somehow being around them too long felt like she was slowly disappearing. She would smile through social gatherings, but return home completely exhausted. Her soul craved silence, not because she was shy or antisocial, but because her spirit was speaking. Naomi eventually realized she was a chosen one. And chosen ones are not designed to blend in. They're designed to tune in. If you're a chosen one, being around too many people too often can dim your light, distort your discernment, and distance you from divine downloads. So why exactly does this happen? Why are chosen ones allergic to chaos and addicted to clarity? As Carl Jung once said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Divines. This video will break down the spiritual truth you need to hear. Stay with me till the end, because what you're about to learn will not only validate your experience, it'll protect your purpose. Let's stay awake on this journey. Point 1. Your aura is a beacon, not a barrier. Divines, let's talk about this spiritual magnetism you carry, because it's not just some poetic fluff, it's a real, palpable energy. You see, chosen ones operate at a frequency that vibrates higher than the average soul. And no, that's not just a feel-good statement. It's backed by the laws of energy. In physics, higher frequency waves carry more energy. Spiritually, it's the same. You carry more spiritual voltage than most, and that attracts attention, both good and bad. Have you ever walked into a room and suddenly everyone turns to look, even when you're not dressed to impress? That's frequency. It's not your outfit or your smile. It's your aura. And auras are real. Science calls it the biofield, an electromagnetic field that extends from the body. When your frequency is high, your biofield expands. Sensitive people feel it, and broken people crave it. That's why some folks start trauma dumping on you at the checkout line or confessing their secrets 5 minutes after meeting you. Your light feels safe, comforting, healing. But here's the catch. Not everyone approaches you with good intentions. Some want to feed off that light. Narcissists, for example, are energetically drawn to empaths like moths to a flame. Your calm, your compassion, and your insight. They threaten them and entice them all at once. And you were just trying to grab almond milk. This is why large crowds or constant socializing can leave you drained. You're not antisocial. Your soul is on assignment. You've been sent to observe, guide, and awaken, not to entertain the masses or be anyone's emotional landfill. And that's why solitude feels so sacred to you. It's not loneliness, it's spiritual recalibration. Time alone isn't empty. It's full of divine downloads and energetic resets. Even Jesus retreated to the mountains to pray. Why? Because divine missions require clarity, not chaos. Too much noise distorts your frequency. Too many energies cloud your connection. You weren't designed to blend in, Divine One. You were designed to tune in. So if you feel like the world is pulling at you constantly, it's because your light is needed. But your boundaries are sacred. Protect your energy. Honor your mission. And never dim your light for those too blind to see its brilliance. Point 2. Crowds blur your intuition. You ever tried to listen to a whisper in a thunderstorm? That's the life of a chosen one trying to stay spiritually aligned in a world that never stops talking. The chaos, the opinions, the drama, it's like static drowning out the signal from your divine frequency. And make no mistake, your intuition isn't just a feeling. It's your soul's GPS, guided by the Holy Spirit, quietly trying to steer you toward purpose. But that guidance doesn't come shouting. It doesn't compete for your attention. It waits patiently to be heard in the stillness. Science has proven that our brains are overstimulated like never before. We consume more information in a single day than someone in the 15th century did in a month. Notifications, conversations, social feeds, and background noise. Our senses are under siege. But spiritual growth doesn't happen in the noise. It happens in the pause. Revelation is born in the quiet places, not at the center of the crowd. That's why Jesus himself would withdraw to lonely places to pray, not because he was avoiding people, but because he was aligning with purpose. There's a sacred difference between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness is being disconnected from people. Solitude is being connected to God. As a chosen one, you weren't created to thrive in overstimulation. You were wired for revelation, clarity, and discernment. And that clarity gets clouded when your spirit is wrapped in too many voices. The world tells you to network, hustle, stay visible, and stay connected. But sometimes God is calling you to unplug, not to disappear, but to deepen. Not to hide, but to hear. So if you've been feeling the pull to withdraw, to be still, to step away from the noise, don't resist it. Don't guilt yourself for needing space. You're not broken, you're being prepared. Your next level doesn't require more hands in your circle, it requires more heaven in your silence. That craving for quiet, that's not burnout, that's a divine invitation. Your breakthrough might not come through the crowd. It might come through the whisper you finally hear when everything else fades. So honor the stillness. Because when the noise dies down, revelation rises up, and your spirit knows exactly what it's listening for. Point 3. Spiritual sensitivity isn't a weakness, it's a weapon. Some might say you're too sensitive. But let's pause that noise for a moment, Divine One, because what they call too sensitive, heaven calls divinely designed. You weren't built to be hard, cold, or indifferent. You were sculpted by the Creator to feel, to discern, and to sense the unseen. Chosen ones, your sensitivity isn't a flaw, it's spiritual technology. While others walk into a room and notice the furniture, you notice the energy. While they hear words, you hear the vibrations behind the words. That's not weakness, that's spiritual intelligence. Empaths, especially those walking in purpose, have an inner radar that picks up on shifts in people, places, and things. Science even backs this up. Studies show that highly sensitive people have more active mirror neurons in the brain, which makes them more emotionally attuned. You're not imagining things. Your nervous system is literally built to absorb and process emotional stimuli on a deeper level. But here's the sacred warning. Just like a sponge, you absorb what surrounds you. Stay too long in a toxic atmosphere around bitterness, envy, and deceit, and you begin to carry what's not yours. You begin to smell like the room, spiritually speaking. Your joy dims, your peace gets disturbed, and your sense of self gets clouded. That's why protecting your energy isn't selfish. It's sacred self-preservation. God doesn't call his chosen to be available to chaos. He calls them to be set apart. Not everyone should have access to your spirit. Period. Boundaries aren't rude, they're holy. Some folks don't want your healing. They want your light to fuel their dysfunction. And let's be real, some people carry more drama than a telenovela on its 5th season. You're not the plot twist that saves them. You're the audience that chooses to leave the theater. Your gift is to feel deeply, not to fix recklessly. You sense the sorrow behind the smile. You feel the storm behind someone's silence. And that's divine. But your role is not to carry everyone's pain. It's to recognize it, honor your intuition, and move accordingly. So next time someone calls you too sensitive, just smile, because what they mock is actually your mastery. Stay soft, stay sacred, and stay selective with your energy. Point 4. Too much company can cost you your calling. Let's not sugarcoat it, divines. Not everyone around you is genuinely cheering for your rise. Some folks are just hanging close enough to keep tabs on your every move, silently hoping to witness a misstep. It's a tough pill, but a necessary truth. The more people you allow into your space, the more distorted your direction becomes. It's like tuning into too many radio stations at once. Eventually, you can't hear the voice of God over the static of opinions, gossip, and low vibrational noise. When your circle grows without discernment, so does the risk of losing alignment with your purpose. Suddenly, the volume of others' thoughts starts to drown out your intuition. Prayers get replaced by people-pleasing. Confidence gets chipped away by comparison. You start asking for approval instead of divine instruction. And before you know it, you're on a path that looks good to them but feels wrong to you. Why? Because you were never meant to walk with the crowd. Remember, Jesus, our greatest example, didn't move with a massive entourage. He had 12 close disciples, and even within that chosen few, there was a Judas. That's not just biblical history, it's a spiritual blueprint. Being chosen doesn't mean being popular, it means being purposeful. It means keeping your circle not just small, but sanctified. Chosen one has to be especially intentional about who they allow near their spiritual soil. Not everyone deserves a front row seat to your glow up. Some are only in the room to dim your light or dissect your process. Your energy is sacred, your calling is rare, and your elevation requires spiritual insulation. You don't need an audience, you need alignment. Here's the truth. If someone's presence consistently brings confusion, emotional fatigue, or self-doubt, that is your confirmation. Discernment isn't about judging others, it's about protecting your purpose. Trust those inner nudges. When the energy feels off, it's often because God is signaling you to create distance. So guard your gates, divines. Every smiling face isn't supportive, and every close friend isn't a kindred spirit. Your journey requires clarity, peace, and spiritual precision. Be bold enough to prune your circle. Because elevation always comes with separation, and that's not punishment, it's preparation. Point 5, solitude is sacred ground for revelation. When was the last time you truly sat in silence long enough to hear the gentle rhythm of your own breath, the sacred whisper of your own thoughts? Not the endless scroll of social media, not the buzz of the world's chaos, but the kind of silence where it's just you and God. That sacred stillness is not emptiness, it's divine alignment. And for the chosen ones, it's the space where everything awakens. You see, silence isn't just a moment of rest, it's a portal. It's a spiritual technology older than time, woven into the DNA of every prophet, mystic, and true warrior of light. Let's talk facts. In neuroscience, studies show that silence literally regenerates brain cells. A 2013 study published in Brain Structure and Function found that 2 hours of silence daily led to the development of new cells in the hippocampus, the brain region related to memory, emotion, and learning. Now that's science catching up to spirit. Our souls knew this before the lab coats confirmed it, because in silence we aren't empty. We're downloading divine strategy. Look at the sacred pattern. Moses heard God's voice not in the noise of Egypt, but in the stillness of the wilderness. Jesus didn't receive his most powerful revelations at a banquet, but in the quiet ache of a desert fast. Elijah, he didn't find God in the earthquake or fire, but in a still small voice while hiding in a cave. These weren't coincidences. These were spiritual blueprints. Silence is where God meets the soul, stripped of ego, title, and distraction. It's where he gives instructions that are not meant for public ears. The chosen ones often walk alone, not because they're antisocial, but because their assignments are ancient, sacred, and specific. Solitude is not punishment, it's preparation. So the next time someone looks at you sideways and says, "You're always by yourself," don't shrink, don't explain, just smile and say, "I'm never alone, I'm aligned." Because the real ones know, alignment is louder than applause. The silence you sit in today is the strategy the world will see tomorrow. God isn't ignoring you, he's inviting you to come away, to go deeper, and to finally hear. Point 6, your energy isn't for everyone. This one might sting a little, but it's also your wake-up call. Not everyone can handle the light you carry. And no, it's not arrogance, it's spiritual fact. When you walk into a room anchored in joy, clear in discernment, and peaceful in your soul, you don't just enter, you illuminate. And while light is warm and healing to some, to others, especially those still haunted by their own unhealed shadows, your light feels like a spotlight on all the parts they're trying to avoid. It's not that you've done something wrong, it's that your presence, simply by being whole, subconsciously forces others to confront their brokenness. Think of it like this. You're the sunlight entering a room full of vampires. They're not ready, they scatter, they cover up, they hiss in discomfort, not because you harmed them, but because they've lived too long in the dark. Here's the twist most people miss. You're not even trying. You're not preaching, pointing fingers, or trying to fix anybody. You're just being. You've done the work. You've healed some wounds. You've grown. You've chosen love over bitterness, clarity over confusion, and God over chaos. But healing has a frequency. And when you're vibrating at a higher one, it disrupts those still stuck in lower cycles. That's why the room shifts. When you walk in, why do some people suddenly get defensive, project negativity, or just disappear without warning? Your spirit said truth, and their ego screamed run. But here's the spiritual download. Rejection is not always punishment. It's protection. The universe or God is pruning your proximity, trimming back the energetic weeds so you can flourish in your divine garden. Every person who ghosts you, talks behind your back, or walks away without reason, they're not your loss. They're your lesson. And more importantly, they're not your burden to carry. So stop mourning those who couldn't stand beside you. They didn't leave because you were too much. They left because you were enough, and that terrified them. Celebrate that. Celebrate your light, your peace, and your healing. Celebrate that you made someone feel something real. And most of all, celebrate the fact that you're still shining, even when it makes others squint. Your light isn't for everyone, but it is for someone, so shine anyway. Point 7. Isolation precedes elevation. Every chosen one experiences a sacred, soul-defining season where it feels like the world goes silent, just them and God in the stillness. It's not punishment, though it might feel like exile. It's divine preparation. This season strips away noise, distractions, and attachments, leaving only raw truth and spiritual clarity. Think of it as God's version of spiritual boot camp, not to break you, but to build you into someone unshakable. That job opportunity that suddenly slipped through your fingers, that wasn't bad luck, it was a closed door for your protection. That friend who slowly drifted away, that wasn't a betrayal, it was divine pruning. And that event you weren't invited to? That wasn't social rejection, it was redirection. See, the Creator doesn't deal in randomness. He orchestrates, aligns, and removes to create the space you'll need for what's coming next. God isn't ghosting you, He's grooming you. When God calls you higher, He often calls you alone. Not everyone can walk where you're headed. Some people can't survive the altitude of your calling, like climbers who can't handle thin air. They simply won't make it past a certain elevation. God isolates you to elevate you because elevation demands separation. Eagles fly alone for a reason, because the heights they reach aren't made for flocks. Your mission isn't average. Your anointing isn't common. You are not here to blend in, but to stand out and lead. And rare things, diamonds, gold, ancient scrolls, are never left lying in the open. They're hidden, refined, and protected. God hides His most powerful instruments until the appointed time. So if you feel unseen, unheard, or even unwanted, rejoice. You're not being rejected, you're being reserved. Spiritual solitude is where character is forged, gifts are sharpened, and faith is deepened. Moses had his wilderness, Joseph had his prison, Jesus had his 40 days alone. Every chosen one has a season of silence where God becomes your only audience. In that silence, your soul finds strength, your vision becomes clear, and your steps align with destiny. So take heart, chosen one. You're not lost, you're hidden. And when the time is right, what's hidden will be revealed, not to prove the doubters wrong, but to glorify the one who prepared you in the dark for a purpose so bright, the world won't see it coming. Divine ones, don't let the world shame you for needing space. Space to breathe, space to recharge, space to receive. You weren't made to entertain everyone. You were made to enlighten those who are ready. Your solitude isn't a prison, it's a portal. A sacred place where heaven meets earth, where clarity is born, and where your true power is awakened. So walk boldly in your uniqueness. Guard your energy like it's your purpose, because it is. And when people ask, why don't you hang out more, just tell them, I'm not hiding from the world, I'm aligning with the divine. Stay awake, divines. Your spiritual journey depends on it. If this message resonated with you, comment and share it with another divine one who needs to hear this. And most importantly, subscribe for more spiritual insights that keep you awake, aware, and anointed. You're not too sensitive, you're not too quiet, you are not too different, you are chosen, and you were never meant to fit in. Stay divine, stay awake. Until next time, peace and power.